From Ferguson, Missouri, national reporter for MSNBC.com, Trymaine Lee. Trymaine, good morning again. Tell us about last night. It looks like, watching the pictures live last night, it looked for the better part of the evening like peaceful protesters on one side, and you had police kind of standing in line. A bit of a standoff, but not much violence. And then something took a turn, I don't know, I guess around midnight or so, and the tear gas started flying. What happened there?
Once again, the peace here in Ferguson kind of hung by a string. As you mentioned, there was this standoff where protesters who had been marching peacefully up and down along the side of the street decided to kind of gather in the center and link arms. But it was still, they were loud, but not overly aggressive. A few plastic bottles came flying through the air into where police officers were standing. And then something happened. I'm not exactly what happened. I'm not sure what happened, but the tear gas canisters were flung into the crowd. People were running, and further in distance, you could hear what sounded to be percussion grenades and punctuated again by some gunshots. Again, while the majority of the protesters had been peaceful, something happened. And as Captain Johnson said, there seemed to be a criminal element kind of buried within the ranks of those protesters.
Gene Robinson's with us and has a question for you.
Trymaine, who are the violent protesters, the ones who are not demonstrating peacefully? Could you describe them? Young, old, male, female, from in town, out of town? Who are they?
Well, it's still kind of hard to tell because, again, they are kind of hidden in plain sight. Certainly, some of the more aggressive agitators are young people, young men. But again, according to Captain Johnson, among the 30 arrests were people from as far away as California and New York. And so a bunch of people, including community organizers last night who helped to keep the peace, said that there are agent provocateurs, within the ranks of the protesters. So but the crowd is typically so thick. It's hard to identify exactly who is a criminal and who is a protester.
Hey, Trymaine, let me ask you a quick question. Joe Scrubber here. So obviously early on when the tear gas was flying, when you had the local Ferguson cops in charge, it caused a lot of unrest in the community. What has the response been since Ron Johnson's been out there, a son of Ferguson? The tear gas is still flying at night when these people are looting and this small element breaking the law. But what's the reaction in the day? Is there just as much distrust of law enforcement, or does this move make a big difference after nights like last night?
Right. I mean, Captain Johnson's presence has been, marked a dynamic shift in the way the police interacted with the people. On any given day, you see Captain Johnson out there. He's hugging people. He's shaking hands. He's actually giving them time. Press is surrounding him. Residents are surrounding him. Protesters are surrounding him. Barking questions at him. Occasional insult, and he handles it with grace and poise. There is a big difference. Also, last night, I would say there seemed to be a great deal of restraint before the tear gas was fired. Just days ago, during one of the worst nights, I saw one bottle fly and heard it hit one of the police trucks, and within 20 seconds they were unloading tear gas canisters. Last night there were several bottles thrown at officers and they used restraint, and I think that's directly connected to Captain Johnson. He is of this community. He sees himself as one of them. He's marched with these protesters. He understands that he wants the community to move on. One person mentioned that, something about Mike Brown is no longer here and can no longer go to college. And he said, I want to make sure all the Mike Browns in this community have opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference between him being there and what we had before.
All right, Trymaine Lee, thank you very much. We're going to be covering this story throughout the day. To other news now.